News.
Well, there's some interesting data coming out of the University of New South Wales. Researchers there have analysed more than 500,000 student feedback ratings and found male teachers are most likely to rate highly.
Well, let's bring in Associate Professor Yanan Fan as she helped co-author the study. Good evening, Yanan. Thanks for joining us. Interestingly, we just mentioned there that the student feedback, male teachers are most likely to rate the highest at university. You're a female. From your perspective, what do you see play out in the lecture rooms?
I think as an individual lecturer, it's very hard to see, to be able to see the differences, because sometimes you don't know whether it's you yourself or it's something that you did. But the study is done over thousands of teachers over a long period of time. So we're really looking at systemic differences between how men and women are rated in these surveys.
Let's go through some of the findings. For science and business, male teachers from an English-speaking background were twice as likely to score highly than women from a non-English speaking background.
Yeah, so that the findings are not across the board, but primarily in business and in science, we find that men of particularly English-speaking background are in the case of business school and science are almost sometimes as much as twice as likely to get.
And why do you think that is when in things like arts and social sciences there was no difference?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So I'm not sure. I'm not exactly qualified to make strong statements about that, but I have some suspicions. I guess maybe it's because there are the role models are not there. At the leadership level, that there are not enough women in the science faculties, whereas in the arts and social sciences there are. But perhaps the proportional representation is higher in the arts and social sciences.
Well, it's good to see, given that you are an Associate Professor of Statistics, this was a statistically sound study, given there was 525,000 students involved in their feedback. What now with the numbers? What do you extrapolate from them? What do you do with them? How can we've got this information that bias exists. What now should people take from that? Is bias a good thing? Should bias be stamped out?
Well, okay. So I guess we need to find out what is the root cause of it, and whether the students themselves realise that they are actually doing this. Because I think a lot of the times they are not really conscious of this. So we think it's something that's unconscious. So maybe a public debate or awareness or training, or a myriad of things, maybe more female leaders at the higher levels in the university, all of those things could help.
Yeah, like you just said.
Do the results vary from local students to international students?
A little bit, but not too much, yeah.
So what are the adverse ramifications or impacts of having biases?
I think huge, right? So I guess it's not just in the scores that you're getting. It's your confidence, how you think people perceive you. It could, yes, for a young academic, it could have huge impact on their confidence and how they see themselves as teacher and how confident they can be.
Just going back to the results for science and business, is there any sense that it could simply be explained as that the female teachers in those departments simply are not as good as their male counterparts?
So the study we accounted for individual variabilities in their ability to teach, course variabilities, and there are a lot of other factors that could affect how you score. So the data set was quite comprehensive. It had a lot of individuals quantities that we could use. So after all those things have been accounted for, we see that on average a man gets a higher score than a woman. So it doesn't prove that there is anything. It simply says that there's a difference.
And it's not their teaching, in effect, is it? It's the student experience. Is that right? What the students were reporting back was their overall experience. They weren't necessarily just rating on how the teacher teaches.
Yeah. So it is. So the question is overall, are you satisfied with this teacher's teaching?
Right.
So it is teaching, and it's also experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you looked at, this was from UNSW, do you think other universities are doing studies like this, or have they shown interest in doing studies like this, and will you be sharing your results with other universities?
That would be really interesting to look at. So that would be really good to look at what the data really says across Australia. So I don't know of any other studies in Australia that's been published. There are some studies overseas. There were sort of smaller studies than this one.
Okay, fascinating results here. Yanan Fan, Associate Professor of Statistics at the University of New South Wales. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Well, NASA has finally bid farewell to its longest-running rover on Mars, 15 years after it landed on the Red Planet. The vehicle, dubbed Opportunity, fell silent 8 months ago during